All right, we are officially live. What's up, guys? So the LA Rams, they came up short. Their regular season finale against the Seahawks, 30-25. That's a wrap for the regular season, and a lot was on the line. I am so excited to break it all down with my co-host, Tyler Dragon of USA Today. Welcome to Bleav in Rams. Erin Coscarelli with you, back for some more action. We haven't had it hasn't stopped since the season started. Ty, I want to get your take, but for you guys at home, we're taking a look at what you have to say, your comments, your questions, your thoughts. Did you think that Sean McVay should have rested his starters? Please share everything. We're gonna chop it up today. We're gonna get instant reaction, and we're gonna stick around too. We'll be around this week previewing the Vikings game, but so they dropped to the 4 seed. They had the 3 seed. A lot was on the line. They decided to rest their starters. Tyler, what was your initial reaction when you knew Sean McVay was in fact going to do what he always does? He rests the starters, but how did you feel about that?
I wasn't surprised. I mean, he made the decision pretty early on in the week. And considering, yes, I get it, the number 3 seed was on the line. They could have finished with that. But regardless, they still host the playoff game. And they wanted to ensure they went into the postseason healthy. We just saw the Green Bay Packers,
Right.
Christian Watson, their stud wide receiver, torn ACL, out for the remainder of the year, probably going to miss a big portion of next season. And even their quarterback, Jordan Love, had a minor injury. That could have happened to any number of the Rams players if you play their starters, play the whole game. Knock on wood. But you have to err on the side of caution. You saw Andy Reid do the same thing. Yes, the Chiefs had the number 1 seed already sewed up. They weren't in danger of anything. The Chiefs pretty much played their practice squad guys. But overall, I think it was the right decision, considering you're going to have to face these teams anyway. They
Right.
already beat the Vikings. They drew the Vikings. So you got a home game against Minnesota. Let's see what you have when you're healthy and ready to go. So I
Yeah.
don't mind the decision at all.
Sure. And look, Blake Corum had an injury. I think you're right. We saw what happened with Jordan Love in that Packers game. And so LA slid to the 4 seed following the loss to the Seahawks. How did that happen? The Bucks with the win over the Saints. That was also an interesting game.
Yeah.
So the Vikings dropped to 5 as a result of their loss to the Lions last night. And so instead of facing the rookie quarterback with the Commanders, who are the 6th seed, they now have to deal and contend with a 14-win team against the Vikings. Like you said, yes, the Rams have already played them. They win. They won, I want to say it was week 8. But, now they host the Vikings Monday night, January 13th, 5 p.m. Pacific time, start time at home. That's the good news. But before we get in and chop up the wild card matchup, let's discuss what did you like? I mean, it made sense to give looks to these guys. Of course, Jordan Whittington, sort of the preseason darling, had himself a game with Jimmy G. But how did you? What were your takeaways from just seeing some of the backups play that we hadn't seen in a while?
I have to be honest. I didn't put a lot of stock in this game. I mean, with the Rams playing a lot of their backups, it was kind of a meaningless game at that. You knew they were going to lose. I did like their fight. They played a competitive game against the Seahawks overall. I mean, they were in that game into the finish. And it is important, like you said, to give those guys reps. You have an opportunity to put a lot of good, play on tape, earn playing time, maybe during the wild card matchup against Minnesota, and impress your coaches for next season. And so I don't mind, them playing the backups. And the backups, I thought, overall played well. Jimmy Garoppolo, veteran quarterback, played decent. You would like to see him play a little bit better. I hate to see Blake Corum go down with the injury. He's probably done for the remainder of the season. But overall, I thought the backups played decent. But it's hard to take a lot of stock in that game.
Yeah, yeah. So how we got here, because if you saw the records of both teams were 10-7. Some people were a little confused because the Rams beat the Seahawks already. So by virtue of clinching the rarely used strength of victory tiebreaker, which is the fifth tiebreaker used if two teams are tied at the top of their division. So now here we are, a rematch of week 8, Thursday night football, guys. Remember what that was like. It was when the Rams were dreadful, 1-4 coming into the season. And they got sort of their reinforcements back in that week 8 game. And it seemed like after that game, the Rams sort of started to kind of figure things out. Remember, the Rams won 30-20. We weren't expecting to see both Puka and Cooper back. They both were dealing with their own respective injuries. Stafford had himself a game, 24 of 25 pass attempts, 279 yards, 4 scores, and 1 interception. Before we get into this matchup, we do need to take a quick ad read because I'm actually very curious to get your take on why the Vikings might be favored heading into this one. But we've got to pay our sponsors. BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for online betting. Earliest odds to in-game live betting. BetOnline provides you with all the action, the ability to watch the games as they happen. We've got the largest selection of odds on everything football, NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC. Head to BetOnline today and use the promo code Bleav for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. So if you check out BetOnline too, by the way, I want to say the Vikings are favored by 2. I know most people probably aren't surprised, but considering that the Rams are the higher seed, that they did beat the Vikings, is this just based off the fact that the Vikings come to town with a 14-win record, basically?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. You have to put respect on the team that won 14 games and came within a game of being the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. I mean, we know what happened with Detroit and the Vikings, and the Vikings pretty much put the blueprint on how to beat them on tape against the Lions. But yeah, overall, this has been one of the most consistent teams all season. You have to give Kevin O'Connell a whole lot of credit, in my opinion. He's the NFL Coach of the Year. I mean, what he's done with that offense, as well as the defense has played, really well. So, yeah, I think the Vikings, you have to give them credit for what they have been able to accumulate with all those 14 wins and the consistency all season. So, yeah, they deserve to be the favorite.
Yeah, and pivoting. I mean, how did the Vikings get here? Well, remember, there was that preseason injury to their first round rookie quarterback, JJ McCarthy. And under the tutelage of Kevin O'Connell, which, by the way, someone asked about Kevin O'Connell in this chat. Please send your questions, your thoughts, anything that you want to know that Tyler and I could maybe break down for you. He pivoted and he went with Sam Darnold, sort of like a throwaway. A lot of people didn't think Darnold was gonna, still have it in him. And that's what Kevin does. And this question from Shohei MVP, do you think that McVay wanted to play the Vikings because of his familiarity with the coach? Remember, they coached together. He was Sean McVay's offensive coordinator when they went on that Super Bowl run. So there is some familiarity between these two coaches. But I don't know if that's why McVay wanted to play the Vikings. I'm sure McVay is not looking forward to playing the Vikings. But what do you think?
Well, shout out to Shohei MVP's name because, I mean, Dodger reference, Shohei Ohtani is the MVP,
Right.
best player in baseball. So, yeah, I love that name. But I have to admit, I would rather play the Vikings than the Commanders right now at this point. And I say that because I believe the Commanders are playing better football. They definitely have the better quarterback in Jaden Daniels, a mobile quarterback, probably the prohibitive favorite for Rookie of the Year. And it seems like the Commanders just on a team of destiny right now. As far as the Vikings, yes, they were on a winning streak, got knocked off on Sunday Night Football, but that team just seems like there's a proven blueprint to beat them. You get after Sam Darnold, blitz him at nauseum, play man-to-man coverage in the outside, make sure you take care of Justin Jefferson, and
Mhm.
the Vikings really don't have a plan B to beat you. Yes, that defense is going to blitz a lot. They're going to play a lot of man coverage as well. But overall, it just seems like the Vikings aren't a team that can beat you in a variety of different ways, especially with Sam Darnold at quarterback. And that's not a knock on him. Sam Darnold's had a fine season, really probably his best season of his career. But when I look at the matchups and the Rams considering already beat the Vikings this year, when the
Mhm.
Rams were playing not very good football,
Mhm.
and Sean McVay's familiarity with that coaching staff and Kevin O'Connell, I think that's the better matchup for this Rams club as
Wow.
opposed to playing Jaden Daniels, who can throw for 250 plus and rush for 100 and beat
Sure.
you in two ways, in a defense that plays pretty well collectively as well.
Yeah. And this Rams young defense hasn't really done a great job at containing sort of those types of mobile quarterbacks, a la week 2, 41-10 loss to Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. So that's an interesting take. And actually, I think people at home probably really appreciate that, Tyler, because since the Vikings lost to the Rams that week 8, I want to say, they went on a tear and they won 9 in a row. And I want to say this is the first time that we've seen a 14-win team make it to the, present itself as a wild card team. So there's a lot on the line here, and I think people at home are curious about that decision, why Sean McVay made it. But I think at the end of the day, you've made an excellent point in avoiding injury. Corum, it was a fractured forearm.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to be out for the postseason. So now they've got to find a new guy sort of behind Kyren Williams. Had that happened to a Stafford, had that happened to a Puka, spell doomsday. And honestly, everyone's genius, what is it? Hindsight's 2020. Like if it worked out and the Rams, ended up winning despite resting their starters, McVay's a mastermind. If anybody got injured and McVay started, one of the things I was listening to on a podcast, they did make an interesting point. Maybe start the starters in the first half, catch a lead, because here's the problem that the Rams have had almost all season long. And really, this is something that I think we should talk about. We need to have the talk, Tyler. Why do the Rams consistently start slow? I know that the starters were not playing yesterday, but before this, the last, let's say 4 weeks, the Rams haven't really had much of an exciting start to their offense in the beginning of the games. And that's not great. They're always sort of playing behind.
Yeah, their inability to execute on third downs. They don't keep the chains moving. They get behind the chains on second down, and they're in a lot of 2nd and 10, 2nd and 15 situations, and then they get in 3rd and long, and then they're just have the inability not to be able to execute. The Rams are at their best when they get a successful first down play and they get in that like 2nd and medium, 2nd and short situation, and then being able to execute on 2nd and 3rd down. That's when they've built their success, when they run with Kyren Williams on that the first, maybe even 2nd down, and then be able to execute on 3rd and short. And we have not seen that during the Rams for these past few weeks. And I'm not even counting week 18, but they really do need to be able to execute and have more success on 1st and 2nd down, especially at the beginning of the game, to avoid these slow starts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Getting some good comments here, guys. Please send your questions, your thoughts. A lot of Rams fans here. Cam Rogers, I like his point here. He did say the last 2 times McVay sat starters, the Rams did lose in the wild card, the Lions last year and the Falcons in 2017. However, what I think you said, and I think it's a very fair point, the Rams have the blueprint on how to get it done against the Vikings. And I think the biggest issue they've had, certainly most recently is not starting fast. When that first game back from injury, when it was that Thursday night football matchup against the Vikings, Puka and Cooper went off. They combined for a total of 12 catches, 157 yards, and the Vikings had 9 penalties, which led to the Rams having 5 first downs. So playing mistake-free football, sort of getting it dialed in where they start fast, I think that's going to be an important component to controlling the tempo against this hot team. The Vikings are hot. I will say that. Sam Darnold, I think a lot of people, even when I was watching the Baker game, the Bucks game yesterday, those two guys, same draft class, sort of almost same sort of way about how they had to traverse after they left the team that drafted them. And then to find sort of a home where they're at, it's been very interesting to watch sort of all of these storylines play out in the NFL. So when you look at the Vikings, right? Let's see here. Brian Flores, he's a scary defensive guy.
Yeah.
He's blitz heavy. And they've got a lot of Pro Bowl talent on that defensive side of the ball. When you think of what Stafford's going to have to do against that Vikings defense, lay it on me.
So, yeah, you're right. The Vikings love to blitz, and you look at their defensive coordinator. That's what he's built his calling card on. And Greenyard, one of the best edge rushers in all of football. I really like what they've been able to do in their secondary with Harrison Smith and Murphy. But overall, I think the Vikings defense is probably about middle of the pack average. And when you look at what the Rams did against them, I really like the game that Kyren Williams and Puka Nacua had. Combined, they had over 220 yards from scrimmage against Minnesota. And Kyren Williams got in the end zone with the receiving touchdown. So you have to be able to utilize him not only as a ball carrier out of the backfield, but a pass catcher as well. And they have some advantages on the outside. We saw, like you said, Puka Nacua had a really good game against them. I think Stephon Gilmore overall, collectively in his history, has been one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, but he's kind of old. I already mentioned Byron Murphy, but I do think the Vikings secondary, if you can get Puka Nacua in some good matchups, he has the decided advantage overall. And then running against the Vikings, yes, they're kind of stout up front with Harrison Phillips and, like I said, Greenyard. But overall, I do think Williams can be able to have a successful rushing yard game against Minnesota.
Yeah, and it was really interesting too. I want to say for the second straight game, as SP fan mentions. By the way, send in your comments, your thoughts, questions, how you think this game's going to go. Did you like what Sean McVay did in terms of resting his starters? He said more coaches need to do what McVay did, having LaFleur call plays. This was his second straight game. He was calling the plays, I Bleav. What'd you think about that decision?
Wait, you broke up a little bit. What do I think about what decision?
Oh, just having Mike LaFleur calling the plays now. This was his second straight game, I want to say, calling the plays, right? For McVay.
I would love Sean McVay to call it. Sean McVay is the best play caller in all of football, in my opinion. Sean McVay and Andy Reid. But I mean, I don't mind it because those two coaches are lockstep. They have the headset and they're communicating back and forth. And Sean McVay has the ability to override LaFleur's decision no matter what. So I don't really mind it, but I would feel the most comfortable when Sean McVay is calling plays because he's a Super Bowl winning head coach. However, these two coaches, they're communicating, they're lockstep, and I'm sure they agree on the play calls. And if Sean McVay disagrees with a play, he has the ability and power to override them.
Very good point. no one does it better than McVay, but maybe this is giving him an opportunity to see sort of other things with LaFleur sort of taking the reins there with the play calling duties. Another good question too from Alexander, guys, feel free to throw out your thoughts, your questions, your predictions. But Online has all the numbers in terms of spread. The Vikings are the 2-point away favorites this Monday night. Alexander asked this really good question. Not sure I like having playoff Monday night football. What are the chances we win and then we get a Saturday game next? It's a good point.
Yeah, I don't like driving LA traffic for a game during a weeknight. I mean, that is then and there, but
True. It's almost worse.
yeah, but for a fan perspective and an NFL league-wide perspective, the Rams only show in town in Monday night, Rams and Vikings, prime time. You have to like it for the Rams' sake. I mean, and then they get an extra day of rest. That's critical. Yes, they rested their starters, but they have an extra day of rest. More rest than the Vikings starters because the Vikings had to play. So that's to the Rams' advantage when you look at it.
Right.
Come on. I mean, Rams fans, you want all the advantages you can get. The Vikings are a road favorite, but the Rams have more rest. They should come into Monday night. SoFi Stadium, the healthier team because of that game got pushed back to Monday night. Now, if they do have a game on Saturday, though, if they're lucky enough to win, that does go to their disadvantage because they most likely have to travel. And then on a short week, that will go to their disadvantage. But that's neither here nor there. Let's worry about the present before we get too far ahead.
Sure. That's right.
They stay in the locker room one day at a time.
One day at a time. So then where are you leaning towards the result of this game? Since the Rams have edged them out once week 8, would you say these are two different teams in a lot of ways? The Rams are a different team right now. Who are you giving the edge to with this one? And what is the X factor, as we in the broadcast world love to ask?
I hate that you asked this question because I'm going to get a lot of enemies right now. Now, I know we're on a Rams podcast, so my heart is with the Rams to win this game. However, I can't lie. If you look at my picks online, I did pick the Vikings to win this game because I believe that Justin Jefferson is going to go off after being MIA on a milk carton against the Detroit Lions. 3 receptions for 50 some odd yards. However, the Rams have the ability to win this game. They've proven it. They have the confidence to, because they did it in week 8. They know the formula for success. Put Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp in positions to succeed because they are mismatched problems for the Minnesota Vikings, and get after Sam Darnold, blitz him, play man coverage on the outside. If they can do those things successfully, they'll be in prime position to win that game. I can't believe it'll be an upset, but they will be in prime position to get the victory. Do I think it will happen? If I'm going to speak objectively, Erin, I got to speak objectively. I do believe the Minnesota Vikings will win this game.
Yeah. And, look, Vegas is agreeing with you. That's why, the Rams are the underdog in this one. And there's a lot of reason to believe all of that. Both the teams have young defenses, but certainly I would say we're still trying to figure out what the identity of this Rams defense is. Chris Shula's done a great job. And you don't have Aaron Donald. There were a lot of real reasons why the Rams have exceeded expectations this season in a lot of different ways, certainly with what they've had to navigate in terms of injuries, starting 1-4, being without, a consistent offensive line, having injuries with their wide receiver group. And that's why maybe, I asked you this last week. I'm going to put you on the spot again. Does Sean McVay deserve to be in the coach of the year conversation?
Yes, he deserves to be in the coach of the year conversation. Will he win it? I don't believe so. But certainly he's on the short list, easily a top 5 candidate for the coach of the year conversation, considering the expectations, perhaps the lack of expectation for the Rams entering the season. I had them third in the NFC West going into the season. They not only exceeded that, they won the division, only team to make the playoffs in the division. That is a testament to Sean McVay, the coaching staff, and these players. I mean, you look at this defense, there's a lot of new faces in the defense. You got perhaps a defensive rookie of the year in Jared Verse or Fisk. You have Stafford playing at a very high level. Puka Nacua in 11 games, almost 100 catches, steal. Kyron Williams, 1,000-yard rusher, got into the end zone almost pretty much every game. So, yeah, Sean McVay definitely deserves some coach of the year praise.
I love that. Editors, clip off that last part because it has been really fun to watch this team deal with adversity, face adversity, not blame anyone, take accountability, and find different ways to win week in and week out. Either it's on the back of Kyron Williams, or the wide receivers come back, or the defense goes out of control and has 2 turnovers. And, it has been so much fun to cover this team in Los Angeles, to sort of redefine what people had expectations wise, considering Aaron Donald was hanging it up and what this team was going to look like. And also sophomore slumps, like, Puka's out of his mind. It's been so much fun to watch, these guys that were lower selected draft picks really find ways to contribute. And I think we have to tip our cap to Les Snead, the Rams organization, and obviously, of course, Sean McVay. Well, listen, we should do this again this week. Guys, thank you so much for jumping in. We appreciate it. SP fan saying Kyron needed the rest. Yes, he did. And yeah, I mean, it's been McVay doesn't care about the 4 seed. They were the 4 seed in that Super Bowl run, right? It will be a tough one. They will have to. Who's the team you feel at this point the Rams do not want to face?
The Eagles.
Yeah. We talked about that last week.
Yeah, the Eagles are the most complete team in the NFC, in my opinion. And Saquon, he's had an MVP level season, over 2,000 rushing yards. And then they got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith on the outside. And their defense, they quietly have number 1 total defense in the NFL. So, yeah, Philadelphia for sure.
Yeah, and the Rams couldn't get it done when they faced Philly right before Thanksgiving, I want to say. All right, well, listen, that's a wrap for Tyler, Dragon, and I. Bleav in Rams will be back this week. We will break down the Vikings and just a more in-depth look at this season. It's been so much fun covering the team alongside you, Tyler. Thank you always for making the time. I appreciate it, and I'll see you soon, okay?
See you soon. Maybe Monday night.
That's right. Just get there early because traffic's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye, guys.